Dear friends, welcome. Today I'm going to take you on a journey into the depths of history, where we'll witness the legendary battles between two great powers, Rome and Carthage. This video will not only cover a single great conflict, but will provide a comprehensive look at the three major wars behind Rome's rise and Carthage's fall. Let's delve into the origins, heroes, and epics of these grand battles by turning the dusty pages of time. Allow me to detail the backdrop of these great wars, the dramas that unfolded, and the significant turning points in history. We'll start with the First Punic War. I'll describe the epic struggle between the legendary warriors of the Mediterranean, focusing on the first major clash between Rome and Carthage. We'll explore the struggle for dominance over Sicily, Rome's initial naval inexperience, and Carthage's military strategies. This war will reveal how tensions between the two powers reached a peak, and how Rome's deficiencies in naval power became an advantage. Next, we'll open the doors to the Second Punic War. This is where the saga of Hannibal Barca begins. The brave Carthaginian commander Hannibal's crossing of the Alps to attack Roman territory represents one of the greatest military strategies in history. We'll examine his heroics at the Battle of Lake Trasimene and the Battle of Kannae, how Rome managed to resist during this tough period, the outcomes of this monumental struggle, and how Hannibal's legend came to an end. Finally, we'll wrap up this epic story with the Third Punic War. This conflict marks the destruction of Carthage, Rome's final battle with this great power, and the obliteration of the city. It highlights how the Roman Empire solidified its dominance in the Mediterranean and how Carthage was erased from history. We'll dive deep into the collapse of Carthage and explore how Rome emerged as a major power following this great war. In this historical journey, I'll cover not only the outcomes of the wars, but also the reasons behind these conflicts, their consequences, and the heroes involved. Each battle, each strategy, each hero will be a crucial key to understanding this important period of our history. Now you're ready to embark on a journey into the depths of the past and the events that shaped these great wars. I'm here to guide you through the legendary conflicts between Rome and Carthage, the intricacies of the wars, and their backstories. Get ready, because we're about to step into a grand historical adventure. Dear friends, welcome. Today I'm going to take you on a journey into the depths of history, where we'll witness the legendary battles between two great powers, Rome and Carthage. This video will not only cover a single great conflict, but will provide a comprehensive look at the three major wars behind Rome's rise and Carthage's fall. Let's delve into the origins, heroes, and epics of these grand battles by turning the dusty pages of time. Allow me to detail the backdrop of these great wars, the dramas that unfolded, and the significant turning points in history. We'll start with the First Punic War. I'll describe the epic struggle between the legendary warriors of the Mediterranean, focusing on the first major clash between Rome and Carthage. We'll explore the struggle for dominance over Sicily, Rome's initial naval inexperience, and Carthage's military strategies. This war will reveal how tensions between the two powers reached a peak and how Rome's deficiencies in naval power became an advantage. Next, we'll open the doors to the Second Punic War. This is where the saga of Hannibal Barca begins. The brave Carthaginian commander Hannibal's crossing of the Alps to attack Roman territory represents one of the greatest military strategies in history. We'll examine his heroics at the Battle of Lake Trasimene and the Battle of Kannae, how Rome managed to resist during this tough period, the outcomes of this monumental struggle, and how Hannibal's legend came to an end. Finally, we'll wrap up this epic story with the Third Punic War. This conflict marks the destruction of Carthage, Rome's final battle with this great power, and the obliteration of the city. It highlights how the Roman Empire solidified its dominance in the Mediterranean and how Carthage was erased from history. We'll dive deep into the collapse of Carthage and explore how Rome emerged as a major power following this great war. In this historical journey, I'll cover not only the outcomes of the wars, but also the reasons behind these conflicts, their consequences, and the heroes involved. Each battle, each strategy, each hero will be a crucial key to understanding this important period of our history. Now, you're ready to embark on a journey into the depths of the past and the events that shaped these great wars. I'm here to guide you through the legendary conflicts between Rome and Carthage, the intricacies of the wars, and their backstories. Get ready, because we're about to step into a grand historical adventure. Dear friends, let's take another step back in time and delve into the first major tensions between Rome and Carthage, focusing on their struggle for control over Sicily. Sicily, with its strategic importance, became a focal point on the historical stage for these two great powers. The conflicts on this island sparked the First Punic War and profoundly changed the course of the war. Once the lush lands, deep blue seas, and strategic location of Sicily made it a battleground between Rome and Carthage. Rome, a young city-state with a desire to expand, had its eyes set on this rich island. On the other hand, Carthage aimed to control the island to protect its sea and trade routes. This struggle between the two powers created a palpable tension across the island. The first clashes between Rome and Carthage began on the eastern coast of Sicily, in Messina. Messina, with its strategic location on the island, was coveted by both Rome and Carthage. It was crucial both for trade routes and military movements. This city became the site of the first real conflict between the two powers. Rome sought to increase its influence in the region by joining forces with its allies, the Mamertines. However, this move alarmed Carthage and heightened the tension over control of the island. The initial major conflict evolved into a struggle between Rome's inexperience in naval warfare and Carthage's seasoned naval power. Rome faced difficulties due to its lack of experience in naval battles. Carthage's powerful fleet led to several failures for Rome in its early naval campaigns. Nevertheless, Rome did not back down. Instead, it developed new strategies to address its naval shortcomings. An important detail to highlight: Rome's early failures in naval battles served as a source of motivation to become stronger. By renewing its fleet and developing new tactics for naval warfare, Rome challenged Carthage's naval supremacy. During this process, Carthage's naval commanders took note of the increasing threat from Rome and worked to defend their strategic positions in Sicily. These wars affected not only the military struggle between the two great powers, but also the fate of the people living in these lands. Different cities in Sicily took sides as allies or rivals in the clashes between Rome and Carthage. This created a great deal of unrest and uncertainty across the island. Now let's explore how these early tensions between Rome and Carthage created a conflict environment and how these early battles shaped the rest of the war. The struggle for control over Sicily became a decisive factor not just for the region but for the future of the Mediterranean. Let's continue our journey to understand how these two great powers shaped the island and how these conflicts laid the groundwork for a major war. Hey everyone, today we're diving into one of history's most intense and tumultuous naval conflicts. We're focusing on the first major clashes between Rome and Carthage, especially their conflicts at sea. The struggle for control over Sicily wasn't just about land battles, it was also about naval warfare. The early clashes in this period tell the story of these two giants fighting for dominance on the waters. At this point, Rome was still a young power with little experience in naval battles. Out in the vast Mediterranean, Rome's shortcomings became clear when faced with Carthage's impressive naval force. Rome's navy was pretty weak at the time. They were inexperienced and unprepared for naval warfare. On the other hand, Carthage was known for its huge naval power in the western Mediterranean. Their long history of seafaring and strong fleet made them a formidable opponent at sea. Carthage's control over the waters was a huge obstacle for Rome, which was eager to conquer Sicily. Rome's early naval battles were essentially a trial and error process. Since they lacked the knowledge and experience in naval warfare, they initially struggled and faced failures. Carthage's powerful ships and experienced sailors easily defeated Rome's newly established fleet. For instance, the Battle of Mylae, one of the first major naval battles, highlighted Rome's inexperience in sea combat. Carthage's commander, Hamilcar, took advantage of Rome's weaknesses and solidified Carthage's dominance at sea. But Rome learned from these failures. Instead of backing down, the challenges faced in the early stages of the war made Rome even more determined. Rome took significant steps to gain experience in naval warfare and challenge Carthage's superiority. They developed new strategies, innovated shipbuilding, and modernized their fleet to improve their naval skills. Carthage's naval superiority made Rome's failures at sea even more apparent. Carthage repeatedly defeated Rome's naval forces and continued to control the sea routes around the island. Carthage's strategies were highly effective in breaking Rome's strength and maintaining their control over Sicily. Carthage's commanders skillfully used naval tactics to restrict Rome's movements and keep their dominance in the surrounding waters. Rome had to make major changes to overcome this situation. They reassessed their military strategies and naval tactics. One of the key innovations Rome developed during this period was the corvus, a type of boarding bridge. This invention allowed Roman ships to climb onto Carthaginian vessels and fight directly. This strategic innovation was a crucial step in addressing Rome's naval shortcomings. The corvus increased Rome's chances of success in naval battles and became an effective tool for challenging Carthage's naval dominance. Rome's innovative strategies and modernization efforts started to challenge Carthage's naval superiority. Over time, Rome's fleet grew stronger, and Carthage's influence in naval battles began to wane. This shift marked a significant turning point in the war. By enhancing their naval experience and refining their strategies, Rome began to shake Carthage's control over the seas. These conflicts clearly showcased the struggle between the two great powers for naval supremacy. The battle for Sicily was shaped not only by land fights but also by sea battles, and Rome's naval weaknesses became more apparent as Carthage achieved victories. Rome, learning from its challenges, improved its naval capabilities and challenged Carthage's dominance, marking a significant change in history. Hey everyone, today we're diving into an important event from history, the Siege of Lilybaeum. This event marked a turning point in the struggle between Rome and Carthage and became a symbol of Rome's success in its military strategies. Let's explore the details and outcomes of this long and grueling siege together. Lilybaeum was a key fortress of Carthage located on the western coast of what is now Sicily. The city had one of the Mediterranean's most valuable ports, making it highly significant for both Rome and Carthage. With its high walls and strong defenses, Lilybaeum was a tough obstacle for anyone trying to capture it. Rome aimed to secure its dominance over Sicily and end Carthage's influence in the Mediterranean by taking this fortress. However, the siege turned into more than just a military operation. It became a challenging and prolonged struggle. For Rome to succeed, it required strategic thinking and patience. The siege of Lilybaeum was truly a test of endurance and determination. The difficulties Rome faced during the siege, including Carthage's resilient defense and strong walls, were significant. During the siege, Roman commanders used various strategic maneuvers and siege engines to surround and capture the fortress. Rome prepared extensively for the siege and tried various methods to weaken the city's defensive systems. However, Carthage's resistance was strong. The defenders mobilized all their resources to resist Rome's siege efforts. As days went by, the siege became increasingly difficult. Rome's patience, strategic calculations, and military strength eventually led to success. The determination and strategic skill Rome showed during this process played a crucial role in their eventual victory. The new technologies and strategic approaches used during the siege were key to Rome's long-term success. Rome's success in this siege wasn't just a military victory, it was also a strategic turning point. The fall of Lilybaeum severely weakened Carthage's control over Sicily and solidified Rome's dominance on the island. With the capture of the fortress, Rome delivered a significant blow to Carthage's influence in the Mediterranean. The outcomes of the siege of Lilybaeum had a major impact on the overall course of the war. After taking the fortress, Rome reinforced its control over Sicily and significantly reduced Carthage's influence in the region. This victory became a historical milestone, showcasing Rome's military power and strategic prowess. The challenges faced during the siege also helped us better understand the development of Roman military strategies and the complexities of the war. Hey everyone, today we're diving back into history to explore an important event, the Battle of the Aegates Islands. As we approach the end of the First Punic War, this battle stands out as a pivotal moment that sealed the fate of the war with Rome's victory. Let's delve into the story of this significant battle and its impact. The Aegates Islands are a group of small islands located off the western coast of Sicily. These islands were situated along a crucial Mediterranean route, making them a key strategic point that could influence the outcome of the war between Rome and Carthage. The Battle of the Aegates Islands marked the climax of Rome's efforts to secure these islands and deliver a final defeat to Carthage. Rome's success in this battle was the result of years of struggle and advancements in their military strategies. After facing failures in previous naval engagements, Rome reorganized its navy and prepared extensively to gain a decisive military advantage over Carthage. Roman admirals and fleet commanders developed a comprehensive strategy and made critical preparations that would influence the outcome of the battle. Carthage faced a challenging situation in this conflict. They were under intense military and economic pressure. Rome's determined strategies and naval superiority forced Carthage into a position where losing this battle became almost inevitable. The Battle of the Aegates Islands significantly weakened Carthage's naval power, and Rome's mastery of military strategies turned the tide of the war. One of the key moments of the battle was when Rome launched a major naval assault near the Aegates Islands. Rome's fleet achieved a significant advantage over Carthage's vulnerable naval forces. Carthage's navy was unable to effectively counter Rome's unexpected attack. This battle was a major turning point in naval warfare, and Rome's victory at sea greatly impacted the outcome of the war by breaking Carthage's influence in the Mediterranean. On land, Rome's strategic maneuvers and military intelligence played a crucial role in neutralizing Carthage's forces. Rome's soldiers, with their superior performance both at sea and on land, significantly influenced the battle's outcome. Rome's victory in this battle was not just a military success but also a strategic triumph. By weakening Carthage's military power, Rome solidified its control over Sicily and secured its dominance in the region. The Battle of the Aegates Islands was a decisive victory that ended the First Punic War. Rome's success in this battle exacerbated Carthage's war weariness and economic difficulties. Consequently, Carthage was forced to enter peace negotiations, leading to the end of the war and further establishing Rome's dominance in the Mediterranean. This battle marked a major triumph for Rome, both militarily and strategically. This battle serves as a significant example of how military strategies and naval warfare evolved throughout history. Rome's victory was not only a military achievement, but also a landmark event that altered the course of history. The Battle of the Aegates Islands highlighted Rome's strength and strategic prowess, marking a turning point in history. Hey friends, today we're wrapping up our journey through the First Punic War with a look at its conclusion. As we reach the end of this long and bloody conflict between Rome and Carthage, The pivotal moment comes with the signing of a peace treaty. In 241 BC, representatives from both sides came together to finalize this agreement, marking a critical turning point in the war. The peace treaty between Rome and Carthage came after a prolonged and exhausting conflict. Carthage was struggling to continue the fight. The economic and military toll of the war had severely weakened its power. Rome, on the other hand, was poised to enjoy the fruits of its victory, and this treaty would bring the war to an end while solidifying Rome's supremacy. The terms of the treaty imposed significant losses on Carthage. First and foremost, Carthage was forced to relinquish its control over Sicily entirely to Rome. Sicily was now under Roman control, marking a significant increase in Rome's dominance in the Mediterranean. Additionally, Carthage was required to pay a substantial war indemnity to Rome. This payment further weakened Carthage's economic situation and increased Rome's pressure on them. The treaty also placed limits on Carthage's naval power. Carthage had to acknowledge Rome's superiority at sea and restrict its naval forces, allowing Rome to solidify its maritime dominance. This arrangement secured Rome's control over Mediterranean trade routes and diminished Carthage's influence over the sea. Following the treaty, Rome's position was greatly strengthened. Rome solidified its control over Sicily, making it the first Roman province in the Mediterranean and a crucial step in the expansion of the Roman Empire. Rome implemented various military and administrative reforms to consolidate its authority in the region. Rome established military bases and garrisons in Sicily to ensure security. This military presence increased Rome's influence in the area while providing a defensive line against potential uprisings and external threats. Additionally, Rome restructured local governance and applied its legal system, which strengthened its administrative control and facilitated the integration of the Sicilian population into the Roman system. Changes in military strategies also played a significant role in Rome's strengthening. Rome improved its naval capabilities by modernizing its fleet and enhancing its maritime skills. These advancements in naval power reinforced Rome's dominance in the Mediterranean and solidified its superiority in this domain. Meanwhile, Carthage entered a challenging period of reconstruction after the peace treaty. The massive losses and economic difficulties from the war deeply affected Carthage. However, Carthage made significant efforts to overcome this difficult period. Carthage focused on economic recovery and revitalized its trade routes through various reforms. It also began rebuilding its military strength, restructuring its naval forces to prepare for future threats. Carthage's reconstruction efforts aimed to enhance its capacity to compete with Rome in the long term. Looking ahead, Carthage concentrated on regaining its military and economic power. The focus was on making strategic moves to increase its influence in the Mediterranean without directly challenging Rome's supremacy. Carthage's political and military leaders worked on strategies to balance Rome's dominance in the region, with the goal of eventually being able to counter Rome's military strength. Friends, this period reflects a shift in the balance of power between Rome and Carthage and shows how both powers embarked on a process of rebuilding after the war. Rome's strengthening and consolidation of control over Sicily significantly altered the dynamics in the Mediterranean, while Carthage's reconstruction efforts set the stage for future confrontations. Understanding how the struggle for power shaped up during this time offers us valuable insight into the strategies and developments of both sides. Dear friends, today I will recount one of the greatest and most challenging military strategies in Roman history. By 218 BC, a formidable military genius from Carthage, Hannibal Barca, was meticulously preparing his battle plans. Hannibal, seeking revenge and victory against Rome, was on the brink of launching a campaign that would leave a lasting mark on military history. Hannibal's strategy focused on exploiting Rome's weaknesses. Recognized as a military prodigy from a young age, Hannibal had taken over the leadership of Carthage after the death of his father, Hamilcar Barca. Hannibal's plan against Rome relied not only on military prowess but also on strategic intelligence and psychological warfare. Instead of a direct assault on Italy, he chose an unexpected route crossing the Alps from the other side of the Mediterranean. Hannibal's preparations began well before the start of the war. His first step was to prepare a large army for this arduous journey. Hannibal organized a rigorous preparation process, gathering necessary supplies and food, training soldiers for the long and difficult journey, and providing morale support. He also assembled an army equipped with war elephants and cavalry skills. Every detail was meticulously planned, as Hannibal aimed not just to defeat Rome but to execute a historically unforgettable military maneuver. The greatest obstacle to Hannibal's plan was the Alps. The Alps presented significant challenges both geographically and climatically. High mountains, snow-covered paths, steep slopes, and harsh winter conditions posed severe threats to Hannibal's army. However, Hannibal's military genius and leadership enabled him to overcome these difficulties. As the army began the treacherous Alpine crossing, Hannibal's strategic skills came into play. He had to contend with climatic conditions as well as enemy attacks and losses. During the crossing, Hannibal's forces faced various hardships, including massive avalanches and boulders that made the journey nearly impossible in some areas. There were also conflicts with local tribes. Nonetheless, Hannibal's military expertise allowed him to develop effective strategies to overcome these obstacles. Hannibal rested his army at regular intervals during the Alpine crossing and took measures to adapt to the winter conditions. He also established diplomatic relations with local tribes to secure aid in some areas, facilitating the passage. Hannibal's military brilliance was evident throughout this challenging and complex process, turning the Alpine crossing into a victory both physically and strategically. Hannibal's successful crossing of the Alps astonished Rome and was recorded as a remarkable military achievement. This strategic move posed a significant threat to Rome and demonstrated the success of Hannibal's battle plans. His strategic intelligence and leadership successfully guided his army through the treacherous Alps, marking the beginning of a major threat for Rome. Dear friends, in this section, we're about to experience a major historical moment together as I tell you about the great victories of a genius who faced the Roman Empire, Hannibal Barca. The year is 218 BC, and Rome's greatest nightmare, Hannibal, has crossed the Alps and set foot in Italy, now showing Rome the true face of war. At this point, Hannibal's strategic genius and military prowess were preparing for their first major tests. The stories of the battles of Ticino and Trebia emerge from the dusty pages of history as magnificent tales of heroism. As Hannibal approached the Roman borders after crossing the Alps, he planned a series of strategic moves that would shake Rome to its core. The first major clash erupted near the Ticino River. This battle marked the first time Hannibal showcased his military skills against Rome. One of Rome's initial mistakes was not paying enough attention to Hannibal's numerical superiority and combat experience. On the day of the Battle of Ticino, Hannibal's Carthaginian army moved quickly towards the Roman troops, surprising them with a strategic maneuver. The young and daring Hannibal launched an unexpected attack on the Roman lines, creating a major surprise. With superior strategy on the battlefield, Hannibal managed to break through Rome's defenses. Hannibal's victory in this battle was not just a military success, but also dealt a significant blow to Rome's morale. The triumph at the Ticino River demonstrated that Hannibal's war strategies were effective, and that he had the power to challenge Rome's dominance. After the Battle of Ticino, Hannibal decided to take his next step to further shake Rome, a major confrontation near the Trebia River. The Battle of Trebia was one of the most striking examples of Hannibal's military genius and strategic acumen. This battle showed how Hannibal could effectively defeat Rome and strategically trap his enemies. In the Battle of Trebia, Hannibal managed to defeat Rome both psychologically and militarily. Rome's strategies failed against Hannibal's cleverly arranged traps. Hannibal lured the Roman army into a narrow area around the Trebia River and devised a brilliant plan to neutralize Rome's numerical advantage. The battle by the river was a strategic marvel showcasing how the Carthaginian army exploited Rome's weaknesses effectively. Despite the cold weather, Hannibal's soldiers fought bravely and used every strategy to break the enemy's resistance. Hannibal's tactics in the Battle of Trebia were effective in demoralizing the Roman army. He disrupted the Roman troops' formations and strategically cornered them on the battlefield. Rome's leaders were left helpless against Hannibal's clever moves. At the end of this battle, Hannibal once again emerged victorious and succeeded in instilling fear in the heart of Rome. Dear friends, this is how Hannibal's first major victories left deep marks on the history of Rome. The battles of Ticino and Trebia were not just military clashes but also turning points in history. Hannibal's military genius and strategic intelligence demonstrated how he effectively managed the significant threats posed by the Roman army. These victories revealed how effective Hannibal's war strategies were and how he became a formidable power against Rome. Dear friends, now I'm going to take you on a historical journey where we'll explore one of Rome's greatest setbacks, the Battle of Lake Trasimene. It's the year 217 BC. And Hannibal continues to shake Rome, casting a huge shadow over its centuries of glory. This battle represents a moment where disaster and victory converged, leaving deep marks on Roman military history. The area around Lake Trasimene is the scene of a battle where the Roman Empire suffered a major loss, and it stands as one of the brightest examples of Hannibal's military genius. As Hannibal prepared for this battle, he demonstrated not only his military skills but also his strategic intelligence. The surrounding mountains provided the perfect backdrop for Hannibal to set a trap for his enemies. To surprise Rome, Hannibal's forces concealed themselves among these mountains and developed a grand strategy. Before the battle, the Roman consul Gaius Flaminius was in charge. Flaminius had not yet fully grasped the threat Hannibal posed in Italy. Hannibal's strategy around Lake Trasimene was part of his plan to lure Rome into a trap. Lake Trasimene was the area where the battle took place, and Hannibal turned this location into an arena that would decide the outcome of the battle. When the day of the battle arrived, the Roman army was advancing through the wooded areas around Lake Trasimene, unaware of how Hannibal's forces were skillfully hidden and waiting. Hannibal observed Rome's movements and quietly directed his army to a narrow pass around the lake. Thus, the Roman army did not detect Hannibal's forces before taking a major hit. As the Roman army approached the lake, Hannibal's troops launched a sudden attack, rendering Rome ineffective both psychologically and physically. Trapped in the narrow space around the lake, the Roman soldiers found themselves helpless against Hannibal's brilliant strategic maneuvers. In the narrow pass by the lake, Hannibal's forces cut off the Roman troops' escape routes, surrounding them from all sides and causing a massive slaughter. The Battle of Lake Trasimene is remembered as one of the greatest disasters in Roman history. The battle led to the annihilation of a large portion of the Roman army, the loss of high-ranking commanders, and a severe blow to Rome's morale. This significant loss for Rome occurred due to Hannibal's mastery of war strategies and leadership skills. The tremendous victory at Lake Trasimene solidified Hannibal's superiority over Rome and exposed Rome's vulnerable aspects. This battle demonstrated how Hannibal could place Rome in a dire situation and highlighted the major deficiencies in Rome's war strategies. The Battle of Lake Trasimene went down in history not only as a military clash, but also as a moment when a great military strategy, a leader's genius, and a nation's resilience were put to the test. Dear friends, now I'll take you on a journey into one of history's most incredible battles, the Battle of Kannae. It's the year 216 BC, a time when Hannibal's military genius reached its peak, and one of Rome's greatest disasters unfolded. This battle represents the pinnacle of military strategy and leadership, a showcase of virtue and skill. After his great victory at Lake Trasimene, Hannibal had put immense psychological pressure on Rome. He had become almost a legend in the face of Rome, with everyone eagerly awaiting his next move. But this time, Hannibal's goal was not just a victory. He aimed to shake Rome's military power to its core, bringing them to a pivotal moment in their history. The Battle of Kannae was more than just a battle. It was a stage where military strategy and leadership abilities were displayed at their highest level. Hannibal meticulously planned to defeat one of the largest military forces Rome had ever faced using his intelligence and skill. The battle took place in a small town in Apulia, Cannae. Here, Hannibal's plan was crafted in detail to destroy Rome's military power. At the helm of Rome were consuls Varro and Paulus, two capable commanders leading Rome's largest army. Hannibal knew his enemy had such a powerful and large army, so he had to base his fight on a grand strategy. He decided to trap Rome in this battle. Hannibal's strategy was to let Rome surround him and then crush them by tightening the noose. When the day of the battle arrived, Hannibal's military genius came into play. Hannibal drew the Roman army into a narrow area around Cannae to trap them. This area provided the perfect environment to compress and defeat Rome's powerful military force. Hannibal's troops surrounded the Roman army on all sides in the narrow space, effectively pinning them in. As the battle began, Hannibal's plan worked flawlessly. The Roman army, surrounded and trapped, was completely helpless against Hannibal's brilliant strategies. The Battle of Kannae went down in history as a tremendous success in military strategy. Hannibal defeated both Roman consuls and annihilated approximately 50,000 Roman soldiers. This was an unprecedented disaster in Roman military history. The great victory at Cannae showcased Hannibal's mastery of military strategy and leadership at its zenith. After this battle, Rome experienced a significant morale blow and had to reassess its military strategies. By destroying a large portion of the Roman army, Hannibal achieved not just a military but also a psychological advantage. The Battle of Cannae is remembered as one of the greatest military defeats in history and has prompted extensive discussion and analysis of Hannibal's military skills. Dear friends, the story of the Battle of Cannae reveals a moment when military genius and strategy were displayed at their highest level. Hannibal's immense victory left a deep mark on Rome's military history and provided many lessons in military strategy. This victory is not just a military conflict but the apex of leadership and intelligence. Dear friends, they say great wars create great leaders. After Hannibal's magnificent victory at Cannae, the wound in the heart of Rome had deepened, and its army had suffered a significant blow. However, within Rome's spirit was a tenacity, a resilience. This resilience, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, allowed Rome to rise again. After Cannae, Rome faced the brutality of the war. But rather than dishearten Rome, this confrontation made it even stronger. In this challenging period, the hope of Rome lay in the rise of a young commander, Publius Cornelius Scipio. Scipio was not only a soldier but also a strategist, a statesman, and most importantly, a symbol of Rome's revival. Scipio first gained attention with his victories in Spain. In these territories under Carthage's control, he proved himself by winning victories that restored hope to Rome. These victories boosted Rome's morale and etched Scipio's name into history as a hero. But this was just the beginning. Scipio set his sights on Africa, aiming to reach the heart of Carthage and take revenge on Hannibal. At this point, Rome needed to take another strategic step. In North Africa, Numidia, a loyal ally of Carthage, posed a significant obstacle to Rome's plans. The cavalry forces of Numidia were among the strongest elements of the Carthaginian army, and Rome knew it could not succeed in Africa without drawing this dangerous power to its side. Scipio achieved a significant diplomatic victory at this juncture. He formed an alliance with Massinissa, the young and ambitious prince of Numidia. This alliance was a game-changing move. Massinissa not only solidified Numidia's support for Rome, but also provided Scipio with the cavalry units that would offer the greatest support for his African campaign. This strategic maneuver by Numidia strengthened Rome's position and turned the war against Carthage in Rome's favor. Now Rome was preparing to win the war, not just with military might but also with diplomacy. Finally, preparations for the Battle of Zama began. Scipio, with Rome's most talented commanders, the forces supported by Numidia, and his own military intelligence, faced Carthage. Hannibal, despite years of weariness, remained a cunning and dangerous adversary. The confrontation between these two great commanders would determine the fate of not just a battle, but of two empires. Zama became the stage for a battle that would be remembered throughout history on the fiery soil of Africa. Scipio meticulously prepared his troops to counter Hannibal and carefully devised his strategy. The cavalry units of Numidia played a crucial role in determining the course of the battle. Scipio meticulously planned how to counter Carthage's war elephants and seasoned soldiers. Dear friends, the Battle of Zama would become the greatest testament to Rome's revival and Scipio's greatness. Rome was preparing to stand against Hannibal not only with its military strength, but also with strategic intelligence. This battle would be a clash not just of two armies, but of two great geniuses. And Rome aimed to return with victory this time, to erase Hannibal's shadow forever. Dear friends, few conflicts in the annals of history are as thrilling as the Battle of Zama, where two great geniuses clashed. This battle was not just between Rome and Carthage, but also a confrontation between two strategic masterminds, Hannibal and Scipio. The dust clouds rising from the scorching sands of Zama heralded the unfolding of an epic saga. Rome had never forgotten the bitter lesson of Kannae. That dark day had plunged a knife into the heart of Rome, leaving a wound that echoed with cries between the city walls, a scar that would be remembered forever. But now Rome's fate was about to change. Scipio, Rome's hero, was stepping onto the battlefield to erase Hannibal's shadow once and for all. Hannibal arrived at Zama, worn from years of campaigning and experience. He was known as the most feared commander in the Mediterranean world, Rome's greatest nightmare. However, facing him was an equally brilliant and courageous opponent. Scipio had anticipated Hannibal's every move and was determined to defeat him at his own game. On the morning of the Battle of Zama, as the searing African sun illuminated the battlefield, the two armies faced off. In front of the Carthaginian army were Hannibal's most trusted weapons, the war elephants. These colossal creatures had brought victory in many of Carthage's battles. But Scipio had found a way to neutralize these elephants. The Roman legions were arranged in disciplined ranks to fend off the elephant assault. While Hannibal planned to break the Roman lines with his elephants, Scipio aimed not only to counter these giants but also to strike Carthage's flanks and rear with Numidian cavalry. In the early moments of the battle, Scipio's strategy began to bear fruit. As the elephants broke through the Roman lines and fled, the Numidian cavalry started to disrupt Carthage's formations. In the midst of the battle, the wits of Hannibal and Scipio were once again on display. Hannibal, making a last desperate effort, deployed his reserves to reinforce the Roman lines. But Scipio was ready for this move. The legionaries surged forward like a wave against Hannibal's weary troops. Carthage's hope dwindled with each passing minute. And then, the moment arrived the fate of the Battle of Zama was sealed. The Numidian cavalry had surrounded the Carthaginian army, and even Hannibal's most loyal soldiers began to retreat. Rome's impregnable lines had broken the last of Hannibal's resistance, declaring victory. For the first time in his life, Hannibal was truly defeated after a lifetime of triumphs. The Battle of Zama became one of the most significant turning points in Rome's history. This victory solidified Rome's dominance in the Mediterranean and erased Carthage from the stage of history. Scipio was now a hero not only in Rome but across the world. Hannibal, remembered as one of history's greatest commanders, would be a symbol of defeat this time. Dear friends, the Battle of Zama was not just a clash of two armies but of two great spirits. This battle etched itself into history not only as a military conflict but as a triumph of human will and intelligence. Rome did not just win at Zama, it laid the foundations of an empire. Dear friends, after the Battle of Zama, the sun of Carthage began to set. The brilliant strategies of the great Hannibal had kept Carthage afloat for many years, instilling fear in Rome. However, the bitter defeat at Zama marked the beginning of the end for Carthage. As the smoke of battle cleared, a peace treaty between Rome and Carthage was about to be signed, yet, for Carthage, this was more of a surrender, and for Rome the proclamation of ultimate victory. Rome imposed extremely harsh terms on Carthage in the peace treaty. Carthage would henceforth exist only as a small city-state in the waters of the Mediterranean that it once dominated. Rome demanded the surrender of all Carthaginian war fleets and stipulated that Carthage could never again wage war. Carthage would pay heavy war indemnities to Rome annually and could not engage in any military action without Rome's permission. Under these conditions, Carthage became nothing more than a shadow. A great power that once struck fear into the heart of the Mediterranean was now crushed under Rome's feet. With this treaty, Rome became the absolute ruler of the Mediterranean. The fall of Carthage, the once master of the oceans, paved the way for Rome's rise. Rome began to see the Mediterranean almost as its own inland sea, taking control of all trade routes across it. Rome was now on the path to becoming the world's most powerful state. The fall of Carthage was becoming a forgotten story amidst the echoes of Rome's victory march. However, Hannibal never accepted this defeat. After the Battle of Zama, a fire that never extinguished burned within the heart of the great commander. Exiled from Carthage, Hannibal fled eastward, advising various kings and developing new strategies. Yet Rome's long reach pursued him wherever he went. Hannibal's every move was monitored by Rome's spies. Fearing his genius, Rome did not want to allow Hannibal to regain power. Hannibal's final years were spent on the fringes of the world he once ruled, in loneliness and exile. Yet he never accepted defeat. Under the pressure from Rome, even at the end of his life, Hannibal chose to end his own life rather than surrender to Rome. The great commander who once walked victorious battlefields ended his life in a quiet corner, at his own hands. Dear friends, Hannibal's death was not only the end of a warrior but also the end of an era. His loss was a closing door for Carthage and an opening to endless victories for Rome. After Hannibal, Rome took its place on the historical stage as the sole ruler of the Mediterranean. Yet Hannibal's spirit was never forgotten through the ages. His brilliant strategies, courage, and determination remained vivid among the dusty pages of history. Rome achieved victory, but Hannibal's name continued to live on as a legendary figure. This great battle was not only a clash between two states but between two civilizations. The fall of Carthage and the victory of Rome forever changed the history of the Mediterranean. And this change is still felt today with its enduring effects. Rome was the power that unified the Mediterranean, turning it into a Roman lake. Carthage, on the other hand, was forced to kneel before this great civilization. Dear friends, the dark clouds over Carthage had not yet cleared following the Battle of Zama. Yet the Carthaginians did not surrender in the face of one of history's greatest disasters. They rebuilt their shattered city, healed their wounds, and rolled up their sleeves to forge a new future. Although Carthage had been weakened after the war, it began to rise again by harnessing its commercial spirit and its strategic location in the heart of the Mediterranean. However, this time it faced a Rome that was stronger than ever before. Carthage's rebuilding process resembled a tale of resurrection. The city revitalized its trade routes, strengthened its economy, and managed to survive despite the heavy reparations it paid to Rome. Yet, this revival meant that Carthage was always on edge in its relations with Rome. No matter how strong Carthage became, it was doomed to live under the shadow of Rome. Rome, in turn, watched the resurgence of its old enemy with great suspicion and concern. Carthage's leaders made significant efforts to live peacefully with Rome. However, the rivalry between the two great powers sowed the seeds of a new war that would alter the course of history. Carthage's renewed trade and economic strength disturbed Rome's peace. Rome did not want Carthage to regain power in the Mediterranean again. Therefore, Rome continually increased its pressure on Carthage, planning to crush it once more. One day, this simmering tension reached its boiling point. The peace between Carthage and Rome began to crack like a thin layer of ice. Unable to endure Rome's constant threats any longer, Carthage rearmed itself. This time, Carthage's leaders prepared for a final battle against Rome. However, this war could spell the end for Carthage. Rome, in anticipation of this war, had been preparing to completely annihilate Carthage. Having observed Carthage's resurgence for a long time, Rome now mustered all its strength to destroy Carthage completely. The Roman Senate decided to wage a final war against Carthage. The Roman legions moved into action to crush Carthage and remain the absolute rulers of the Mediterranean. Rome made extensive preparations for this war. It would spare no effort to ensure Carthage's last breath. Military forces were organized, the most experienced commanders were assigned, and all resources were mobilized for victory. Rome aimed to permanently end Carthage's resurgence. Thus, once again, two great civilizations were set to face each other on the battlefield. This war would not only be a turning point for Rome and Carthage, but for the entire Mediterranean world. Rome was ready to subdue Carthage once more and erase it from history forever. Carthage, on the other hand, would put forth all its strength and courage to survive this battle. Dear friends, whether history repeats itself remains unknown, however. Carthage's resurrection and this final clash with Rome heralded one of history's greatest conflicts. Rome's cold, ruthless policies and Carthage's determination to resist would determine the fate of this war. The stage of history was set for the ultimate confrontation between these two giants. Dear friends, as we step closer to that great battle that will decide the fate of Carthage, let me tell you a story that will make you feel like you're right there with them. Carthage was once again facing the ruthless grip of Rome. But this time, the Carthaginians were more determined than ever. They had sworn to fight, resist, and even fight to their last breath to avoid being wiped off the pages of history. Carthage's defense strategies were like a work of art. The city had been reinforced with massive walls to challenge Rome. Carthaginian engineers had developed new techniques to withstand Rome's attacks, doing everything they could to protect the city like a fortress. Carthage was preparing to battle not just Rome's military might, but also its strategic cunning. When the first clashes began, Carthage's resistance started to be written as a heroic epic. As Rome advanced with a colossal army towards Carthage, Carthaginian warriors gathered their courage and prepared to defend their city. Rome's naval and land forces had surrounded Carthage and put it under siege. But this time, Carthage wouldn't be an easy target. Carthage's warriors stood like a rock against Rome. The city's walls were like armor against Rome's attacks. Carthage's leaders had developed a defense plan for every assault, anticipating Rome's every move. Carthaginian soldiers stood firm on the walls, resisting Rome's attacks. Every stone, every arrow, every spear was a part of Carthage's spirit of resistance. Rome's siege went down in history as one of the largest sieges ever. Rome was trying every possible way to completely destroy Carthage. Rome's massive army was continuously launching attacks to breach Carthage's walls and developing various strategies to wear down the city. Yet Carthage continued to offer new resistance against each attack. The Carthaginians defended every corner of the city without yielding to Rome's assaults. The siege by Rome was not just a battle but a test of patience and endurance. The people of Carthage were struggling with hunger, thirst, and all the hardships of war. But nothing could break Carthage's spirit of resistance. Carthaginians kept fighting against Rome at every corner of the city, risking their lives to repel every attack. Carthage's resistance was not just a military struggle but also a fight for honor. This city, refusing to bow before Rome, was making history with one of the greatest resistances ever. Carthaginians did everything in their power to keep the city from falling, making this fight not just about defending a city, but about their very existence. Dear friends, we've now reached one of the most critical moments in history, the great battle where Carthage's fate would ultimately be decided. After years of siege, Carthage's patience and resilience had been tested to the limit. But we were now approaching the end. Rome had completely surrounded Carthage with relentless attacks, increasing its determination to destroy the city with each passing day. And now the siege was reaching its peak. Carthage's walls had held strong against this long war. But the pressure from Rome was now unbearable. Rome's siege engines had battered the city's walls, making defense nearly impossible. The Carthaginians were fighting a life or death struggle. Everyone, regardless of age or gender, had taken their place in this final defense. On the walls, Carthaginians gathered for one last stand against Rome, fighting with an unbreakable resolve in their eyes. Carthage's leaders gathered in the city square to encourage the people. They knew this final battle might destroy the city, but Carthage's spirit was still alive. No matter how dire the situation, Carthage had no intention of surrendering. They were ready to make their last stand against Rome. Across Carthage, the people had risen to join this final fight against Rome. Rome's army planned a final assault to capture the city. The commanders had deployed every strategy they could think of to end Carthage. The walls were starting to fall apart, one by one. Carthaginian warriors were using everything at their disposal to resist these attacks. But Rome's power had reached an overwhelming level. The streets of Carthage were filled with Roman soldiers. At every corner, Carthaginians were fighting for their lives, but one by one, they were falling against Rome's crushing force. And finally, the siege reached its climax. Carthage's last defense had been exhausted. The city's walls were completely destroyed, and Roman soldiers had advanced to the heart of the city. The proud people of Carthage realized that the end of this war had come. Roman soldiers had entered Carthage's most sacred places and had begun to demolish the city. Fires were rising across the city. Carthage had turned into nothing more than a heap of ruins. Carthage's last stand would be remembered as a heroic epic throughout history. But even this resistance couldn't withstand Rome's relentless power. As Rome destroyed Carthage, it wasn't just wiping out a city but also erasing a civilization. Carthage's temples, homes, and public spaces were all wiped out by Rome's brutal force. Rome finally declared victory. Carthage was now nothing but a ghost. The city had been completely destroyed, and its people were taken captive. As Rome's commanders celebrated their victory over Carthage, those who remembered the city's former power felt a deep sadness. Carthage wasn't just a city, it was also a culture, a civilization. But Rome's ruthless victory had buried this civilization deep in history. And so, dear friends, Carthage's last defense and Rome's victory will be remembered as one of the most tragic yet epic moments in history. As Carthage went down in history for its resistance, Rome, with this victory, became the undisputed ruler of the Mediterranean. But this victory came at a heavy cost. Even for Rome, the destruction of Carthage left an indelible scar on human history. Dear friends, the fall of Carthage was not just the collapse of a city, it marked the beginning of a new era in the Mediterranean world. As Rome rose from the ruins of Carthage, it became a power that would forever change the course of history. But behind this victory were much deeper events that shaped Rome, determining its spirit and future. The day Carthage took its last breath marked the first step toward Rome's undisputed dominance over the Mediterranean. Rome was now the sole master not only of the Italian peninsula, but of the entire Mediterranean. Rome's military and economic power surged even more after seizing Carthage's vast wealth and trade networks. The eastern and western parts of the Mediterranean were now under Roman control, and this sea began to be known as Mare Nostrum, or our Sea. This victory was Rome's first major step toward becoming one of the most powerful empires in the world. After Carthage's fall, Rome intimidated other great powers of the Mediterranean. Greek city-states, Egypt's rich lands, and even the ancient civilizations of the East had to acknowledge Rome's power. Rome's dominance over the Mediterranean was reinforced not only by military successes but also by diplomacy and trade. Carthage's former allies joined Rome one by one, increasing Rome's influence every day. However, the power and wealth brought to Rome by this great victory also came with significant challenges. Rome now had to manage a vast territory. This required radical changes in the empire's administrative structure, military organization, and economic system. Rome had to expand its bureaucracy to control every corner of the Mediterranean. New provinces were established, new roads were built, and the Roman army was continuously expanded to protect these vast lands. After the war, Rome's social structure underwent profound changes. The wealth brought by the war increased the power of the Roman elite, while the economic gap between classes deepened. Rome built an economy based on slave labor, and slaves brought from conquered lands reshaped Roman society. However, this also led to significant unrest. Slave revolts, civil wars, and social conflicts were the dark shadows behind Rome's triumph. Moreover, the relentless war with Carthage fundamentally changed Rome's military strategies. Rome had transformed from a city-state primarily focused on defense into an aggressive and expansionist empire. The Roman army, enriched by experiences from the Carthaginian wars, became the most powerful and disciplined military force in the world. These experiences laid the foundation for Rome's future conquests. The fall of Carthage strengthened the Roman army and made it even more invincible. But dear friends, the most lasting impact of this victory lay in the ideology that defined Rome's role in the world. With the destruction of Carthage, Rome began to see itself as the protector and leader of world order. This new ideal guided the empire's future expansion and its relations with other great civilizations. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes of Carthage, Rome solidified its dominance over the world, and this victory shaped the empire's history in the centuries that followed. The fall of Carthage marked the beginning of a new era for Rome in the Mediterranean. This victory not only boosted Rome's military and economic power, but also defined its role and mission in the world. With this victory, Rome became an empire that left its mark on human history. Yet this triumph also meant new challenges, conflicts, and wars for Rome. The destruction of Carthage was not an end, but merely a new beginning for Rome. Dear friends, we've now traced one of history's greatest and bloodiest conflicts. From the battlefields where Hannibal and Scipio faced off, to the final defenses of Carthage and Rome's rise, we've witnessed the birth, and fall of civilizations. This chain of events, shaped by the twists of fate, changed not just the destiny of two cities, but the entire world. Rome, building its empire on the ashes of Carthage, cemented its place in history as the master of the Mediterranean. But this victory wasn't just about conquering lands, it was about shaping an ideology, a belief, and a nation. With this triumph, Rome took giant strides toward becoming one of history's greatest empires. Their story isn't just about military successes, but about human will, strategic brilliance, and perseverance. Today, as we walk these lands, whether exploring the ruins of Carthage or taking in the grandeur of Rome's structures, we can hear the powerful echoes of history. Every stone, every column, every relic carries the marks of these epic battles and struggles. By following these traces, we become living witnesses to history, instead of getting lost in the dusty pages of the past. As we come to the end of this journey, let me share this as a wise thought. History isn't just a chronology of past events, it's also a mirror that sheds light on our future. The story of Carthage and Rome shows us how fleeting power and victory can be, yet how lasting human will and determination are. The lessons from the struggles of these two great civilizations still guide and inspire us today. I've been honored to share this epic story with you. I hope this narrative has been more than just a history lesson, but also a source of inspiration. Together, we've experienced everything from Rome and Carthage's grand battles to the human struggle for survival. As we close the pages of history once more, I want to leave you with this: history not only opens the doors to the past, but also to the future. By understanding the past, we can build the future. The story of Carthage and Rome reminds us of what is enduring and what is transient. Our wealth and victory may be fleeting, however. The spirit and belief of humanity remain a legacy that echoes through the ages. Dear friends, as you listen to this story, you've become part of this legacy. I hope this narrative has ignited your curiosity and inspiration for the depths of history. History lives not just through the stories of scholars, but through your curiosity and desire to explore. Until we meet again in the next story, remember, history is shaped by us, and each of us is a part of this grand narrative.